Yo, what's up guys? You got pokeaim here with a different video. This is more so to discuss Baton Pass in Pokemon Sun and Moon. It's not being suspect tested, but there will be a decision on it coming in the near future. So I did want to talk about it with you guys, give you my thoughts. And yeah, so you guys can also leave your thoughts down below. I'll also be leaving this thread down below if you want to post on it. It was posted by Finchinator. Also, if you guys want to pick up my Clean 7 Years merchandise on YouTube, it's not because I've been alcoholic free for 7 years. The joke is actually still hilarious. It's because to celebrate 7 years on YouTube. You guys can. The link is down below. It's available till June 5th and it does ship worldwide. Now, anyway, Baton Pass is being discussed in Sun and Moon OU. They're talking about completely getting rid of the Moon Baton Pass. As we've seen in Sun and Moon OU, we have Pokemon like Scolipede, which can successfully and repeatedly Baton Pass to Pokemon such as Magearna, Balloon Xurkitree, Espeon, even Chestnut, Necrozma. All those Pokemon, and that's how I had to say it like that. All those Pokemon in it here, and those Pokemon can either boost themselves and start sweeping, or when they go down, Scolipede can just come back, protect, and pass speed again. So this is more so concerning that speed passing. Baton Pass has been limited in the past several times. In Gen 5 and Gen 6, we had full Baton Pass teams, which consisted of Pokemon like Smeargle, Espeon, Scolipede, Vaporeon, Mew, Mr. Mime, things like that, that Dennis actually made. Not Dennis the Menace in the comments, but Dennis made those teams. And those teams, we limited it. We limited Baton Pass to 3 members, right? That could only have Baton Pass in Gen 6. And then Baton Pass came out with that. And then we limited it to 1 member that could only have Baton Pass. And then we saw the Whimsicott Cottony team, Azelf team, with dual screens into Geomancy Smeargle, which still had a lot of success. Then we limited that even more to you cannot Baton Pass speed plus another stat. So if speed is being Baton Pass, it can only be that stat passed to something else. And then here we are in 6th gen, where we see Scully Pass being such a huge, prominent thing on the OU ladder in the metagame itself. When Metagross was being suspect tested, every game was either stall or Baton Pass, and that's fine because you want to. I guess they want to vote. Do what you want, but I'm not sure how I feel about banning the move Baton Pass as a whole. It says right here, banning the move Baton Pass as a whole will be a clear-cut solution. As a strategy will be limited from the metagame, there will be no ways around it. That is 100% correct. That is 100% correct. If you ban Baton Pass as a whole, there is no way that people can pass these stats. Baton Pass is the only way, outside of heart swapping your opponent and things like that. And I think the reason they did this is because if they didn't ban that, if they just banned speed passing, people might get around it, though it wouldn't be as good, but you'd probably see something like a Calm Mind or Nasty Plot Celebi Baton Passing to maybe like an Agility Kingdra with the focus energy, and it'd use that to crit. It obviously would not be as good as speed passing because speed passing immediately makes a Pokemon a threat. With Heracross being released as well, which is actually a good Pokemon versus Baton Pass. At the same time, it's also a good Pokemon on Baton Pass. That Pokemon having speed, having 504 attack, and then having access to SD, it can break through most, if not all teams, especially when Pokemon like Talonflame are not as relevant anymore in the OU tier. ABR actually goes on to talk about the history of Baton Pass. Can I pass speed with other boosts? Are Clone Claws really is that disgusting and complex? And it actually makes sense too, because he mentioned how Smogon doesn't like complex bands. It was either ABR. Yeah, he has Blaziken. Smogon doesn't like complex bands that we ban Blaziken, not speed boost Blaziken. Or else we ban Greninja, not Protein Greninja. Smogon bans single and complete Pokemon whenever possible. Yes, they don't like complex bands. So as much as people might not like it that we don't have Blaziken, we don't have a regular Greninja and whatnot, Smogon tries to stay true to that. And why should Baton Pass be different? Why should we go through all these hoops to try and limit this strategy, which still keeps coming back and still keeps working the way it is? So obviously there's drawbacks of this. I'll give you the example of just Pyukumuku, for example. That Pokemon loves to gain momentum with Baton Pass. If Baton Pass as a whole was banned, you wouldn't be able to use it as a momentum gaining move. Pyukumuku, Celebi, Celebi uses it example as well to avoid pursuit, because otherwise it could use U-turn, but U-turn can't be pursued, whereas Baton Pass cannot be pursued. And it uses that to avoid that. It uses that to sometimes pass nasty plot past a sub, which I don't think is necessarily as... I don't even think... I'm not saying this is broken at all, just speed passing is broken. I don't think it is. It's good. It's definitely good, and Baton Pass is very, very matchup oriented. Same thing with Web, same thing with a whole lot of different teams. That's just how it is. But you wouldn't ever be able to use Baton Pass as a momentum gaining move. And the thing is, in UU and below, Baton Pass is already banned as a move. They decided straight up to ban that because of Pokemon like Scolipede being down there, Necrozma and all those mons. They had already done that. So we've already done a few months with just Baton Pass being banned from UU and below. But now we're talking Sun and Moon OU. So you wouldn't be able to use it as a momentum gaining move. Which I'm not sure how I quite feel about it. I would love maybe, again, this would go alongside complex, probably a complex ban, but if they really wanted to limit it, one thing they could do is just ban stat passing as a whole. You cannot pass stats as a whole, and that's definitely something that would completely get rid of. I couldn't really see a way that you can get over that at all, because if Scolipede cannot Baton Pass speed, then it can't Baton Pass if it's having speed boost ever. And then the members coming in can't get the boost, and they can't set up and sweep or break through your opponent. If Celebi or something can't nasty plot pass, that sucks, you know, for Pokemon like Celebi or Decidueye that like to SD and Baton Pass, or nasty plot and Baton Pass, or Combine and Baton Pass. And I love SD, especially early Sun and Moon. I love SD Decidueye into Mega Sharpedo, a really slow Baton Pass into a mon that has its own speed boost. Again, showing how speed is a factor. It definitely is a factor in affecting Baton Pass and Baton Pass sweeps and breaking through your opponent. Something like that wouldn't be possible. Or something like Celebi nasty plotting, I'm going back to maybe Oras, but Celebi nasty plotting to like Spec Sylveon in the UU tier and just breaking through opponents. So something like that wouldn't be possible. But of course, if you limited its stats as a whole, momentum could still be a thing. I could send out Pikamuku, and I could, I'm sorry, I have habits, I have mannerisms that they just come out. Anyway, if I Baton Pass with that and I predict my opponent to switch and I Baton Pass, great. I just caught momentum there. If my opponent switched into Landorus, and I'm pretty sure stat droppings don't, like if stats drop, it doesn't count necessarily as passing a boosted stat. Hopefully it doesn't, because I'll get intimidated and I can't pass that. But, or like, let's do a better one. I predict my opponent to switch out to Tapu Koko, as I have out Pikamuku versus their maybe Zardex. I'm unaware Pikamuku. And, you know, they know I'm unaware, so they switch into Tapu Koko. I Baton Pass to gain momentum. I go into Scarf Dugtrio. I trap Tapu Koko because of that. It's just things like that. You lose Baton Pass as a momentum gaining move, which, you know, sucks for Pokemon that, I don't want to say depend on it, but Pokemon that really appreciate it. Pikamuku is one of them, but of course it hasn't been used as that in UU and below since Baton Pass has been banned down there as a move as a whole. And I mean, I have no complaints in UU tier and below. I feel like it's still fine. I just can't use that. My Decidueye is forced to use U-turn and whatnot. But it's still good with Spirit Shackle, trap my opponent and whatnot. But again, I do want your thoughts on it like that. I know they don't want to do that because I don't want to say it's a complex ban, but I think they just want to get rid of Baton. They just don't want to deal with Baton Pass. This issue has come up so many times. It's not even in Gen 6 and Gen 7 that's come up. In Gen 5, it was ridiculously good. Mr. Mime to block Parasong from Politoed. Full Baton Pass change. Gen 4 had Gliscor Pass. Nelson, a pretty solid Gen 4 player who uses some of the most infuriating strategies, uses Gliscor Pass, and then when that fails, he uses Gligar Pass. He has them at the exact same team, so if one fails, he can pass with Gligar doing the exact same thing. And I think that's also what it comes down to. I think that's a huge thing as well. Like, is the metagame fun? People want to have fun when they play the game. And again, I really do think, you might be saying, oh man, that's a stupid thing to say. Like, what are you saying? This is a competitive game. No, I think it really does come down to that. Why do people hate stall? Because for them, playing stall isn't fun. Which is fair. I have opinions on that as well. But, not that it isn't fun, but I have opinions on why stall is, you know, good and not necessarily terrible, and why it doesn't actually, it isn't just me switching into my counter. Sometimes it does need me to play smart, but we're not talking about that in this video. So I don't know. I think it's also a fact that like if I see my opponent with Scolipede, Magearna, Necrozma, Espeon, or something like that, or Dugtrio, and Dugtrio is also a huge thing, being able to trap things that would otherwise be huge problems for Baton Pass. Like for example, like Taunt, Magma Storm, Heatran might be an issue for Pokemon like Magearna or Xurkitree coming in, which have not already set up and they're getting hit, they're trapped, whatnot. Dugtrio just removes that, and Dugtrio is also another another Pokemon that makes Baton Pass so good, in my opinion, as well. And that's more so Arena Trap than Dugtrio itself. But yeah, I do want to know your thoughts. What do you think about Baton Pass as a whole? Do you think that, and obviously you can leave them down below in the comments. I do want to see them, but I will link to this thread as well because it is open for the public. People are posting. These are all great Baton Pass abusers. These are the main passers. It's actually mainly Skelly, but Mew is also a great passer as well. And like I talked about how it doesn't matter that it's just speed being passed because the Pokemon coming in can abuse it. For example, Magearna has its ability Soul Heart as well as access to Calm Mind. So when it gets rid of a member, it gets a special attack boost. Espeon can Calm Mind boost. Necrozma can Calm Mind Sword Power. Manaphy can Tail Blow. Chestnut can Belly Drum. Celesteela has Beast Boost. Mawile and Heracross both has Swords Dance as well as ridiculous attack stats. Bulu has Swords Dance, and Heatran has Z moves as well that can help it, as well as Arena Trap, being able to get rid of your opponent. Sunny Daying into Solar Beam and get rid of, or G Solar Beam, Sunny Daying into Solar Beam, getting rid of like the water types and whatnot. But yeah, like you have Punch Shroom talking about banning any sort of stat passing alongside Baton Pass, and I think I'd be okay with that. Again, using Baton Pass as a momentum gainer rather than as a way to pass speed. And again, if this ends up passing, or this ends up going through, Baton Pass would just be banned as a whole when they make a decision. And NJMP actually linked the replay right here, and we'll see that our opponent has Mega Heracross as well as Trick Scarf Latios, which is a really good tech for trapping them. The dude leaves Dugtrio, which is fine. It's would have been able to get a rock. Goes hard into Scolipede as his opponent HP ices. I don't know if I would have been hard to Scolipede, but then again, it could take the hit. And then switches directly into Heracross as he goes for Protect. So Heracross is a really good answer immediately, and because Rock Blast otherwise breaks sub, he actually hard switches directly into Magearna. I'm actually a little bit surprised as to why, or a little bit confused as to why he didn't Baton Pass into Magearna, because he would have gotten the speed and passed it to it. But either way, Magearna does force out. Yeah, I have no idea why he didn't Baton Pass the speed into it at all. You didn't lose anything, and the boy just went for Rock Blast anyway. But Magearna does have the option of Calm Minding up, right? And as well as Pain Split on this set, which is, or excuse me, as well as, not this set running Pain Split, that's the Noober set. But Magearna does have options to be able to break through, and he does get crit there. We see Heracross coming in, you know, knocking him out. Coco comes out, doubles on the Coco, which is pretty good, pretty smart playing, as Heracross can come right back out and goes hard into his own Heracross as that goes down. But Dugtrio does have the Supersonic Sky Strike. So, like, again, it's Dugtrio as well that's making Baton Pass what it is. But being able to trap that Mon. I'm not saying this guy actually played it great because I can't comprehend the not passing speed into Magearna unless it was to actually make it that it was slower than Rotom, so Rotom could always Pain Split back up to health and be faster than it. That way Magearna could leave it low. If that's the case, then great. That made sense. It's smart. But you just see like that. Like, it didn't matter that his opponent had Pokemon like Mega Heracross, which are definitely giant threats. As long as a Pokemon was sacked to Heracross and Dugtrio was able to come in and use Supersonic Sky Strike, that Mon goes down. So there are Mons like that Mawile that also do give it problems, but then Dugtrio is the one holding it together. But again, I do want to know your thoughts. I would be fine if Baton Pass was just used as a momentum gaining move. I loved gaining momentum. It's like using U-turn or Volt Switch or Parting Shot without touching your opponent. Well, Parting Shot doesn't obviously touch it, but it's also not widely distributed. There's the Pangoro line, there's Silvally, and there's Alolan Persian. At the top of my head, I'm pretty sure that's all of it. And I guess Smeargle if you copy it. But yeah, what do you guys think about Baton Pass? I do want to know your thoughts. You can leave them down below. And again, it's been through so many changes. Look right here, making Baton Pass Clause version 4. So it's been through 3 different changes already. But again, you can leave your thoughts down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys later today with the week 1 MBL game that will be going up 3 o'clock. This is going at 1 o'clock, so only for today. My videos aren't at 2 and 4, they are 1 and 3. But I'll see you guys later today with that. You can leave your thoughts. I'll leave this thread down below. Goodbye, friends.